Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Back in the underworld here in Hades realm or Hades. Camping obviously with my friend here with the Red Baron, with my little mushroom book. So if you don't hear from me, you know I ate some mushrooms that I was not supposed to. So what's going on here? Well, here is beautiful. The problem is Russia seems to go and smack the Baltic states. Estonia claims that three Russian MiG-31s entered its airspace. We have some calls from Lithuania of shooting down the Russian airplanes entering, fighter jets entering their NATO airspace. I told you, it's not anymore Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, it's NATO airspace, not Romanian airspace. And the Lithuanian minister urges NATO to shoot down the Russian jets violating the airspace of NATO, as Turkey did, if you remember, when Russia was fighting ISIS in Syria. ISIS being, you know, of the Mujahideens and then Al-Qaeda and then ISIS and all that, funded and helped by you know whom. So that's the first topic. Should NATO strike them? Why Russia provokes these guys, or why the other guys provoke the Russians. Remember, the Russians reportedly violated the Polish airspace with about 19 drones a while ago, a week ago or so. Then again, the Russians violated with a drone, reportedly, the Romanian airspace. All these are NATO states. That's the first topic. The second topic, the Russians launched a massive missile and drone attack on Ukraine last night, from the 19th to the 20th of September 2025. Beautiful days here in Michigan. Slept here in my tent. Did not need the stove that I have. I have a wooden stove in a hot tent. I didn't need it. It was good enough. A little bit too much to enjoy last night. I gotta tell you that. Not good. But nevertheless. So let's start with the articles. Let's start with violation of NATO airspace by Russia, which is Estonia again. I claimed many times, it's kind of windy here, I claimed many times that the Russians at one point should go and smack the Baltic states, maybe Poland, Romania. Romania not really, Romania was not very verbal, but Poland, I don't think I'm get surrounded by a coyote here. It's plain day, and coyotes can be smacked around. We don't need this. This is for humans, in case I get attacked or something, not to defend myself, protect myself. Okay, maybe as a deterrent, because once you see this around, people are not, you know. Now some people say, "Why don't you have a sling?" Because I don't like the slings. I like the one-point sling, but the Zastava has here a hook and right here a hook. The ones with stocking that can't remember. You can bring it back. It has right here, which is better. You can have one point and you walk like this. You can have a sling coming around here in the middle, right here, and that's how I patrol or walk, with not around my neck. Ready, okay, with my chest right here, ready. But I don't have it. I should bring one from here that goes here and opens. I don't like holding it here, because when I grab here, I don't like that thing holding it. Nevertheless, this is it. The safety is on, just so you know. I got some ready over there in case, you know, people get shitty. I hope they don't. And it's just for, I don't know, I like it. This is my buddy, all right? It's called the Red Baron. So let's read the first article coming from, let me put my goggles. it's salmon season here. Salmon are back there in the river. I saw them. I will post some videos. I already posted some videos on Facebook. Sputnik, Russian MiG-31 fighter jet does not, jets plural, do not violate Estonian airspace, defense minister. But let me show you. Russian MiG-31 fighter jets did not violate Estonia's airspace. The flight took place more than 3 kilometers, 1.9 miles, from Vainlu Island, the Russian defense minister. So they said the Russian MiGs did not. They did a scheduled flight and that's it. Where did that occur? That occurred on the Baltic Sea. I'm going to show you a map here, and this is how a F-31 MiG-31 looks. But why do I show you this? Is because it has a Kinzhal underneath. The Kinzhal is a hypersonic missile that can carry nuclear warhead, and that is a big problem every time the Russians are taking off with the MiG-31s. These guys in Europe are in high alert because they don't know if they're going to launch an attack on them. So the ministry said that three Russian MiG-31 fighter jets made a scheduled flight. During the flight, the Russian aircraft did not deviate from the agreed upon air route and did not violate Estonia's airspace. Fucking helicopters, military helicopters. That's what the noise is. Great. Did not violate Estonia's airspace. How many are there? Sounds like a Chinook. I think it's 1 or 2. The aircraft flight route lay over neutral waters of the Baltic Sea, more than 3 kilometers from blah blah blah. I don't see them, but I hear them. All right, so that's the first one. That's from the Russians, from Sputnik. Now what do we have now again? Next one. I have a lot of articles that I take snapshots. I don't have too much signal here, so I have to take snapshots. Is that how you call it? Snap pictures of the whatever articles. I'm not on internet. These are the articles I just selected earlier. So let's see what else we got here. Next one. All right, air defense forces neutralized, it's according to the Ukrainians, 552 drones, 2 ballistic missiles and 29 cruise missiles. This is according to Ukrinform, which claims that the Russians launched a big attack. But before that, we go to, again, Ukrinform. Estonian defense forces show flight path of Russian fighter jets over country. On Saturday, the Estonian defense forces published a map showing the flight path of Russian MiG-31 fighter jets that violated Estonia's airspace on September 19th. Question for you, and I show you a beautiful map. Not necessarily this is true, but I would like to ask you, do they have a map and the trajectory of any boats closing the pipelines, Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines? They have them. They're not going to give it to us because they're going to show probably an American or a British and the British special forces planting the explosives on the bottom of the Baltic Sea. So they give us very clearly, and good for them, showing us, according to them, the trajectory of the Russian air. Right there, you see the red line? That's where they entered for about, what, 3 minutes or something. That's according, but somehow they do not have the same thing for the pipelines. Why? The wrong people will be flawed or just made up. 12 minutes, they said, and remained there for 12 minutes. The Russian planes had no flight plans and their transponders were turned off. This is according to these guys. Russian fighter jets entered Estonia. Okay, all right. Now, what are you going to do about it? It's always trickles down to what are you going to do about it? Are you going to shoot down them? Do you think the Russians will be as nice? Let's say the Russians, this is a provocation. What are you going to do? Shoot them down? Violate the Russian airspace too? It seems like, because if you shoot them down, I guarantee you the Russians will not have the same response as they had with Erdogan and that Sukhoi 24, I think it was a bomber that was hitting the North Syria, if you remember, compounds or Islamists over there, the ISIS people. So I think the Russians provoke them to see what these guys are gonna do. And if these guys are going to do, which is shooting them down, the Russians will shoot down their whomever shot them down. I think the Russians, if they want to provoke, if this is indeed their provocation, that's what they want. And then they're gonna go further than that. They're gonna give these imbeciles in the Baltic states and Poland and Romania this signal. You have been involved in the war in Ukraine for the past 3 years and a half without being struck by us. Now we decide to strike you. What are they gonna do? Well, they're gonna look at NATO, which is United States of America, and ask them for what's your answer. Lithuania or Estonia will not strike these guys down without the consultation with NATO, which is in this case Russia. I guarantee you that. And the Russians probably will wait for them to do that, and probably already has been discussed by the Russians and the Americans. I don't know for sure, but the Russians will not just do it without informing the Americans of these little provocations, if indeed it was a provocation. What NATO can do, or Lithuania, should do the same thing to the Russians. Go with their transponders off and enter the Russian airspace and violate it and see how the Russians will respond. Now, if the Russians will strike them down, then it's a different story. All right? They're going to say, well, next time you come in, we're going to fuck you up. But it's going to be a direct war. It is already a direct war. The problem is the Lithuanians, Estonians, and the Latvians, Poles, and Romanians are using the poor Ukrainians to fight their war. All right, what do we have here? All right, next one. So Russian attacks. Let's see what the other things have, what other articles I have regarding this incursion. New Voice of Ukraine, Russian MiG-31 incursion in Estonia was a test of NATO's response for future conflicts. This is according to the so-called Institute for the Study of War, owned by the guys, the Bazaar people, Kimberly Kagan. Go and check her out and see who she works with. She is the sister-in-law of Victoria Nuland. So you can trust Institute for the Study of War exactly how I can trust the weather man. So it's a test. Yeah, it's a test. What are you gonna do? And they say Russia's latest airspace violations over Estonia on September 19th appears to be an attempt by Moscow to test NATO's reaction and capabilities in order to apply those insights in possible future conflicts with the alliance, according to the Institute for the Study of War. No, they said what's not in the future, it's going on right now. And again, they gave us a map here with Estonia and Russia where this thing occurred right there. Sorry for the situation that we are in, but this is what I need to work with. There you go, Estonia, where supposedly the circle thing is where the violation occurred, I'm guessing. All right, so it's a test. What are they gonna do? In response, NATO scrambled Italian F-35 stations in Estonia. So the Americans allowed the Estonians, let me just pull this up, it seems like it's going down or something, allowed the Estonians to scramble the Italian fighter jets to defend themselves, because Estonia, you know, it's a strong country that fights with other people's. You see how interesting it is when the Russians violated the Polish airspace. It was the Dutch Air Force that downed supposedly the drones, the Russian drones. Now it's the Italian F-35 stations in Estonia. So then in Italy you have the Estonian stations, but you see they all have, the French have in Romania, the Romanians don't have in France. The Belgians have in Romania, the Romanians don't have in Belgium. The Americans have everywhere. I don't know in France, but everywhere. But nobody has stationed in America. Why? Because these guys are in charge. Remember. So what will you do? Will you strike them? That marks Russia's fourth violation of Estonia's airspace in 2025. However, the entry of 3 MiG-31s aircraft capable of carrying Kinzhal air ballistic missile was described by Institute for the Study of War as unprecedented brazen move. Institute for the Study of War instigates because they're different. They're not Europeans, and they're not Americans either. They instigate a war between us again, like the First World War and the Second World War. I'm not talking about Japan and blah, 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 or South Africa, North Africa, and so on. They want us to fight against us again so they can come and grab us again for free. So what's gonna happen? What are you gonna do? All right, so let's see. It says on September 19, following the MiG-31 incursion, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen declared that Europe would respond decisively to every Russian provocation. NATO spokesperson Alison Hart stated the alliance responded immediately and intercepted the Russian aircraft. Good, excellent. Estonian Prime Minister announced that the country has initiated consultations with its allies under NATO Article 4. Great. So they're ready, man. They're ready. All right, let's see what else we have regarding this, and then we go to the attack. Russian warplanes spent 12 minutes in NATO airspace. Right there, NATO airspace. It's not Estonia, it's NATO. All right? Because you're taken like the European Union, you're not independent. Once you go in the European Union, you belong to those guys, and that's it. And those guys can blackmail you as they blackmail anybody who doesn't follow rules. Again, 3 pop, without permission, remain there. And we go to the reaction, which is we should just strike them down, man. That's all we need to do. Let me see if I find that article, because every time you find it, okay, that's what these guys did. NATO. All right, here it is. NATO nation's defense minister, a woman, yeah, I said it, calls for shooting down Russian warplanes. This is according to Russia Today, right there. All right, and this is from the 20th. NATO nation's defense minister, which is the Lithuanian Minister of Defense chief, and she's a woman. Good for you. You're gonna fight. You're gonna win every war with your defense minister. Members of the bloc should target Russian military aircraft as Turkey did in 2015. Lithuanian Minister of Defense chief Dovile whatever, Sakaline has said. You are strong, Lithuania. You're strong with that woman. Great. No, you're not. You're weak. NATO should shoot down Russian warplanes, Lithuanian Defense Ministry has said. Her comments come after Estonia, Lithuania's neighbor, accused Russia of violating its airspace, something that Moscow has denied. And I'm quoting, we need to mean business. We. Who the fuck are you? Remember, we. Lithuania has a population of 2.8 million people or something like this. Million people, not billion people, million people. And we, who's we need business? You, Lithuania? Who the fuck are you gonna fight? Who exactly are you gonna fight? All right? That we mean, and Estonia is 1.3 million people. Just so you know how big this country is, that we need to do this. We need to mean business. Are you gonna fight? Are you gonna fight? Why don't you carry an AK for about half an hour and see how you're gonna go and fight the Russians? Just walk with it. I don't require the defense minister to run or carry the whole pack. No. Just go with an AK and walk around for half an hour and hold it in your arms and see how you're gonna be like spaghetti arms. She said posted on X, claiming that Russia tested the blocked borders for a reason. Correct. You have a big mouth. Shut your mouth. All right? Don't get involved. That's what the signal is. Turkey sent an example 10 years ago, end quote, the ministry added, referring to an incident in which the Turkish Air Force downed a Russian bomber over Syria, where Moscow was aiding the government of the President Bashar Assad against extremist groups. Estonia, Baltic states, and a NATO member claimed earlier this week, we already got that one. And then they said Article 5 will ready Poland, NATO member, accused Mugu. So, what are they going to do? Are they going to shoot it down? Well, you have the option, shoot it down or go and send your warplanes to violate the Russian airspace. That's what I would do, at least. One of the two. Or shut the fuck up and become normal. What is normal? The beak a little bit closer. Why? You're just an, how do you call it? You are an insignificant country with a big mouth that provokes the elephants to fight. And when the elephants fight, the grass is going to be screwed up. And you are the grass. You're going to be you're gonna be pushed into a war. You're gonna be the ones. It's not gonna be the Americans fighting. You are gonna fight like the poor Ukrainians. All right, let's go to the article with the big attack that occurs last night. All right, I have a lot of articles here. I have to find. All right, this is according to Ukrinform. Air Defense Forces neutralized 552 drones, 2 ballistic missiles, and 29 cruise missiles. According to Ukrinform, pak. So what they did, 2 Iskander MKN-23 ballistic missiles and 29 KH-101 cruise missiles. All right, so they destroyed 2 Iskander and ballistic missiles and 29 cruise missiles plus 552 drones. All right, that's what they say. 8 Iskander. This is what they from where they launched. In total, they tracked 619 air attack vehicles, 579 Shahed type strike UAVs from Kursk, Bryansk, Milerovo, Oriol, Shatalovo, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk. That's the cities where they were launched from. 8 Iskander M/KN-23 ballistic missiles from Yeisk, Russian Federation, and temporary occupied Crimea, and 32 KH-101 cruise missiles from airspace of Saratov region. Saratov is Engel's base, where these guys sometimes are destroying that. All right, let's see what these guys claim they did. During the attack, simultaneous, Pakaraka, during the airstrike, tactical aviation, in particular F-16 fighters, worked effectively. Yeah, okay. So this is what they did. They neutralized 583 targets, 552 drones, 2 Iskander missiles, 29 cruise missiles. That's it, my friends. And the debris fell over 10 locations, and people were struck and trapalapa. Let's see what else. I have another article I know on this one, which is coming from Ukrainska Pravda. Russians attack Ukraine with over 600 aerial assets. Hits and debris fall recorded in 20 locations. They gave us the same piece of information. So what do we have? The Russians are doing something they should have done a long time ago, which is provoke the baboons in immediate vicinity to their borders. And I'm expecting now Finland to report a brazen attack by the Russians. And then who else is there? Romania already did. That's about it. So I think the Russians are giving a signal that NATO must pull out. The Russians, in one of their demands in 2021, before the invasion, remember when they were running after the United States and NATO, and they were telling these guys, you know what, go and get out of Ukraine. They also claimed and demanded that NATO pulls back from Eastern Europe. It was also a demand made by the Russians. And remember, this guy said, you know what, we don't care about that, go screw yourself. And they screw themselves in Ukraine with the Ukrainian blood. What are you gonna do about it? So now I think they give these guys an example, you're not safe. Of course, these guys in NATO will claim, hey, you see, we told you, the Russians cannot be trusted, they will do this, they will do that. You are the ones who inserted yourselves in the equation. I'm talking about Lithuania, Latvia, Poland, Estonia, Romania. It was not Russia attacking you. Oh, they attacked, they say, Ukraine. Really? Who was in Ukraine? NATO. Would you allow someone to come right here with a knife pointed at your eye and say, I'm okay? We're gonna smack the shit out of them, pull them back far enough so you can, react. Like right now, I'm staying like this and someone points a gun at me. What am I gonna do? Nothing. I'm toast. If he keeps his arms down, I can stay like this. If he moves his arms, this is gonna go in a different position. The same with the Russians. You already put your hand on the gun. What do you think I'm gonna do? And you're already close right here. I'm gonna just smack you back, my friends. So I'm not defending the Russians, even though I don't care if I am how do you call it, accused of that. The reality is NATO provoked Russia. It was not Russia provoked NATO. If you expand as a military organization towards my borders, and I am not your friend under your NATO, whatever you have over there, that's not good. It's like I will bring, let's say, my weapons, my missiles, my weapons in Canada as Russia, or I will bring them, let's say, in Mexico or Cuba. Do you think these guys will just say, "Oh, that's fine"? No, they will again take a shit as they did in Cuban Missile Crisis, which is they lost. Why? They pulled up their Jupiter missiles from Turkey, if you remember. Anyway, nuclear missiles. So here it is, my friends. Is a provocation? Yeah. Will the guys react? They should. How? Either do the same thing and see how the Russians react. I mean, but the Russians denied. The Russians will shoot down these guys, or gonna just hit them as they usually come with their Sukhois and hit the F-16s or F whatever they might send over there as a provocation. The problem is, you're too close. You're too close, and the Russians try to give an example of how we can, get into conflict by accident. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.